Hi everybody, my name is Renaz Jenna. Welcome to my channel. I'm very happy to be able to be here in your presence today. Just for the sole reason that I never thought that I'll actually start this YouTube channel. I've been putting this off for so long, and the fact that I'm here now is really by the grace of God. And I just really wanted to start this channel. At first, I was really kind of confused as far as what I really wanted this to be about. And as I progressed in my life and as I've definitely gotten deeper into my faith, I think I really wanted to be reflected and seen as someone who's really about God. And more so than anything else that I have going on in my life, I really wanted to center everything that I do around my love of Christ and how much he's done for me, and to just help other people and to encourage them to get closer to Christ, to get closer to God. And before I really kind of continue any deeper, as far as like the other things, I really wanted to kind of give like my testimony as far as like why it is that I believe in Jesus Christ, why it is that I think that God has taken me through everything that I've gone through to really be here in your presence today, and to be able to be the man that I am today, and how all those things have really kind of gone to shape me into the man that I am today, and really help me become, more of a solid person, more of a person that has a solid foundation. I think in the past, uh, there was times where I was definitely easily thrown to and fro. You know how it is. You first become a Christian and you start believing, and you're a little bit lukewarm, and everything is kind of being spoon fed to you in a sense. It's not really you seeking after the heart of God by yourself, but it's as you go through those trials and tribulations of your own, and God just really shows up for you and you get to have a real personal relationship with God. That's when things really start to open up and just get to you and get to make sense to you. So some background about me realistically is the one testimony I think I would give is, I think it would be my financial testimony. Um, so currently I'm 24 years old, and I did not grow up well off by no means, but I definitely worked very hard, and just being the sheer size that I am, and God blessed me with a lot of opportunities through all those different avenues. But when I was 18, going on 19, I got very deep into the stock market and really starting to learn a lot about investments and making money through stocks, and options, and just investing in general. And during that time, I just really, all I cared about, I cut off all my friends, I cut off everybody, and I just really just solely focused on improving on my analysis of charts, improving on my stock trades, and just day trading in general. So during that time, from I was unprofitable in the beginning, and I didn't really have much money to really kind of put into it. So during that time, what ended up happening was I really got very deep into the options trading, and I was able to make a lump sum of money that is definitely life changing to the eyes of a lot of people. And in the midst of me making all that money, I put it all on the line to make even more money. And at the time, I had about $356,000 that I had made from the stock market and from options trading, options day trading. And I took that money and I put just about all of it into this one trade, and it was going to pay me out $1.4 million. Needless to say, I'm sitting here before you guys to tell y'all that I am not a millionaire. That did not work out. That plan did not work out. And I'm so grateful that it didn't work out, because in hindsight, looking back at it now, the man that I am, who God has shaped me up to be, if I had made that lump sum of money, it would have led to my own destruction. And I would not be sitting here before you guys. I may have been in the grave or just completely lost in the world. And it took me a while to be able to understand that. But it's because of God's grace that I'm still here, for sure. So the reason why I lost that money is because of my greed, first and foremost, because that money right there, that lump sum of money alone, if I had just passively invested it, I would have been able, the off of the interest alone, I would have been able to make a good amount of change to help me along the time, and the money would have started working for me instead of me working for the money. But instead, I put it all into one options trade, and the next morning or that same evening after I had closed the trade was up about $30,000. And I closed it, and because I thought it was a guaranteed play, I brought something so deep into the money, and on the track record that it was going on, I thought that it was gonna outperform the next day, and it was such a safe play that I thought. But what ended up happening was Trump came out and said that he had COVID later on that evening, about an hour and a half when markets had closed. And when he did that, or it was reported that Trump had COVID and was being flown to, I think, Arlington, Virginia or something like that. It was some military bases to treat him and to do all that stuff. Whether he did have COVID or did not have COVID, the markets tanked the next day. And I lost all that money. And then some. Because, yeah, I lost all that money. And I would go down a negative spiral from that point all the way till about I was 23 years old. So I would say just about last year of just losing money, just throwing money into the markets and just losing money. And, it's really because I had made my first $100,000 at 19. At 19 years old, I made my first $100,000. And I really, I really had a passion for this. And I really thought that I could continue to make a bunch of money throughout the stock options, but I didn't realize how all those things were really robbing me of who God has called me to be. And my love and my greed for money was taking my heart away from God. And I was instead putting my own trust into myself and trust into my own skills, trust into my own knowledge and who I thought that I was and could be. And that's just not what God called for me over my life. So with everything being said, the lesson that I learned from all that and losing all that money, and this took me some time to be able to actually even be comfortable to come out here and say this to people and to say this and put this on the broader internet for other people to be able to see. But it's because of God and how God has kept me. Because if I was to go through and make that money, the type of person that I was going to be, the type of person that I was going to, type of things that I was going to do would have been so far out of line for what God has called me to do in this world that I would have lost myself, and I would possibly have lost my life. At that time, I already had it planned that if I had made that $1.4 million, I was going to go and drop out of college. I wasn't going to go to college. I wasn't going to do anything because $1.4 million, 19 years old, who could tell me anything? No one could tell me. I don't come from a well-off family by no means. So I would have been the first millionaire in my family. And what could you tell a 19-year-old who's making $1.4 million? Nothing. There's nothing he could tell me, and once again, at the times I was definitely living wrong, deep into sexual immorality and just realistically I didn't have a heart for Christ the way I have now. And, I believe in God, but I was one of those Christians who was like, doubting the scripture, doubting the fact that it all of it was in its entirety was very much so true, and doubting the fact that there wasn't at some point in time even a little slither bit of this that was made or altered by man, and I think going through all those doubts and just not having a true idea and true experience and true connection with God himself is why, once again, I said, if I had made that money, I know for sure it would have led me to an early grave, or I would have been living such a sinful life that I would have never had a relationship with Christ. But it finally took me time to realize that, I think it was really last year at the end, towards the end of last year, where it was in the beginning of last year where I had the realization, where I calculated how much money I've invested into the markets from that point of time all the way up to then, and seeing how, like, this is a negative correlation. These things are not. I've had the money, and I was not a good steward of the money that I had. I had no issues getting money and making money. That's never been my issue. My issue has always been taking the money that I do have and risking it in some risky situations to get more money, and I end up losing everything, and then I have no money. And this, with the way my family is going and the way everything has been developing with their health, and just like having my nieces and my nephews grow up now, and like, it just makes you feel less of a man, in a sense, to not be able to provide for your family, to not be able to have money in case something goes wrong. And it just didn't sit well with me personally. And I decided to stop investing, all in all, into just straight up options, and to stop investing altogether for a good bit there, and just to stop, avoiding the things that I need to avoid, and be a man and just take care of them. So that way I could be someone who could be here for my family. So that way I could be someone who could be available for my family. So I could be someone who can provide for my family. And that's really my testimony, is that, like, through all these things that I went through, it really made me have to establish a deeper connection with God, and to learn to understand and depend on God, and to lean on God, and to call on God in moments of weakness, because truly I wouldn't have anything else to depend on. And I'm just so happy that I finally got over the fear of sharing this with everybody else, and just to put it out there, because the blessings that God has for me and the blessings that God has in store for me, it all starts with turning over a new page. And I can't turn over a new page until I accept the things of the past, and to realistically, because I know better and I have more knowledge now, I cannot do the same things of the past that led me, astray in the first place. And learning from these things, and hopefully sharing with you guys out there. Nothing wrong with people out there, who invest. I still invest now, but now I'm investing for the next 10, 20 years, the long term, the long horizon, instead of me trying to go in there and make $1 million overnight. What I'm trying to tell you is that, be weary of ill-attained gains, money that comes so fast. Anything that comes so fast, it usually doesn't last, because you lack the foundation that you need to keep that money. Whereas I had a bunch of money, with the lump sum of cash that I had. If I had taken that money once again and invested it properly, and been a better steward of the money and the funds that God had blessed me with, I would have been able to eventually get there. I would have been able to eventually reach the $1 million goal a lot sooner than I would do now. But once again, you never know why God takes you through things, and that's one of the things I had to learn, is just like not to forsake my relationship with Christ just because things aren't going my way. So that's my testimony for today. And I'm looking forward to sharing more with you guys. I'm looking forward to being more open and just documenting my journey, documenting my walk with Christ, documenting my entrepreneurship journey, and all these things that I am very much so passionate and interested in. And hopefully you guys could learn something from all this stuff. And what I go through, I can hopefully help someone not go through that same thing. So be blessed. I appreciate you guys for staying here and watching and listening to my testimony. God is always good. Don't forget to pray. Don't forget to always seek God first, and to always, make time for God. And I appreciate you guys once again, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.